I was out with Roxy on the first day of spring, when night and day are each exactly 12 hours. Now, the days are getting longer, more sun. And I stopped at my neighbors who have solar panels and an EV to talk about what that means.
My car saved me $3,000 in fuel costs in year one. If you're in California, going solar and getting an EV, it's a no-brainer. It makes sense. It's the way to go.
Do you have a sense for how much you've saved by putting the array in?
We've saved close to $15,000 so far in 3 years, which is amazing. Plus, they included the roof, so not only did I get the solar panels, I got a free 50-year roof, so I'm golden. Yeah, the sun, it's not running out. 5 billion years and ticking.
Happy vernal equinox, by the way.
Thank you.
Awesome car, awesome people.
Awesome little dogs.
Awesome little dogs.
My name is Michael Joseph Alves. I am a recent college graduate from UC Berkeley and the owner of a 2017 Chevy Bolt. I've had it for almost a year now. I received it through the Clean Cars for All program in late May. The Clean Cars for All program is an incentive program for low-income people in the Bay Area. Originally, I had a 2004 Subaru Forester, which was pretty much my family car since childhood. And that was actually the car I learned how to drive in. We realized I think it was time to let go of this old family car and take advantage of the Clean Cars for All program, where we could actually get a rebate for having a car that was older. And I also got a lot of advice from family friends, including my mom's good friend April, who actually has a Bolt herself. And so she let me test drive this, and I immediately fell in love with the Bolt. I'm a huge fan of the EV Unique regenerative battery feature. So when I'm actually driving slower, when I'm driving down a hill, I can actually see my battery recharging, and I'm getting more and more miles back. When I plug my phone in, I get CarPlay, which gives me access to my music, to my calls, and to my maps in a very undistracting way. I guess the topic of fuel was definitely the biggest distinction. Incorporating charging into my daily lifestyle took some getting used to. So I have a home charger right here, but my favorite part is public charging. Some of the charging stations, they're all at my favorite places, whether it be Target, Whole Foods, or downtown San Rafael. So pretty much whenever I go out to run errands or even just meet up with friends for walks, I get to charge. Electricity is always cheaper than gas, so especially compared to my 2004 Forester, I'm saving a lot more money with my Bolt. My girlfriend works and is a student at Sonoma State. They actually have charging stations on campus. I can get almost a full charge for about $6, all while visiting my favorite person. It's a great deal. So my girlfriend and I, we like to go on what we call charge dates, which is when we find a charging station near one of our favorite restaurants, or even a new restaurant we're looking to try, and ordering takeout, and then setting up blankets, artificial candles, and having a nice romantic charge date in the back of the car. That's really fun. And actually, I'm on my way to meet my girlfriend right now. I found my EV. And there's one for you too.
Find the electric vehicle that's right for you. Learn about incentives and how to qualify. Click here.
After a months-long search for the best plug-in hybrid for my budget, I bought a used black 2018 Clarity. It gets an impressive 50 miles per charge. Though I've only needed to use the Clarity's electric capabilities, it is a comfort knowing that I can always tap into the gas engine for weekend getaways. In terms of charging, I almost always charge my car at home. With my new 240-watt charger, it can fill the battery in less than 4 hours. I programmed the handy Honda Link app to set the charge to begin at 1 a.m. to save on my utility bill. The Honda Clarity is the smoothest driving car I've ever owned. The interior is roomy. It can fit 4 oversized humans easily. It can fit 5 average-sized humans comfortably, and it can fit my entire family of small-sized humans. with room left for my giant dog, Bernie.
Well, I was a little skeptical at first because it's a change, but it turns out I love it. I love driving electric. I love the fact that it's totally clean and not polluting. So if I have to go out and make extra trips, I don't feel guilty because I really don't like the idea of putting more carbon into the air. I definitely don't miss, driving. Going to the gas station to get gas, right? So, yeah, that is a great perk about electric, and we can just charge at home, in the evenings at the end of the day.
My name is Lena, and I'm a sophomore at UC Davis studying environmental science. I drive the all-electric Kia Niro and absolutely love it. On a full charge, the Niro gets about 240 miles, which is almost comparable to a tank of gas, so I don't worry about the range. When I'm at Davis, I can make trips home and back without charging, which is quite impressive. Recently, I took the Niro on a road trip to Lake Tahoe and stopped right off the highway for about 20 minutes to charge. I also make daily trips to my horse's farm, going from Marin to Petaluma, and driving the Niro makes even a regular commute fun. On the highway, I use lane assist and semi-automatic cruise control, which is very handy after a long day out. I also love playing music super loud, and the speakers in this car are definitely up to the task. There's plenty of trunk room and even have a bike rack on the back. I highly recommend the Niro for any lifestyle, as it will fit all your needs.
Hi, my name is Johnny Hill. I work for the City of Richmond in the IT department. I grew up in the City of Richmond, and I continue to still live in the City of Richmond to raise my family. I drive a 2016 Ford Fusion plug-in hybrid. Before this car, I drove a 1997 Ford Mustang GT 4.6. My dad had a 4.6 as well. And now my son and his friends, Teslas is the new thing that they want. As in the City of Richmond employee, we get 3 hours a day of free charging, so I love to take advantage of that. I also do charge at my home as well. So usually for the most part, I'd want to say 90% of the time, I just charge right here at work. I get about 30 miles on the electric charge. 30 miles is efficient enough for me to get from work to home every day and do shopping, take kids to schools, football practice. And then I'm always saving money because electricity is cheaper than gas, and I'm able to charge at work and at home. So I save at least $100 to $200 a month just on that. With my Mustang, I was gassing up every other day. I quickly changed my mind at an event here at the City of Richmond, the Drive Clean event, and talked to a lot of people. And they had this one booth with CHDC, and they had a Drive Clean program where they would give me a $5,000 grant to get an electric car. So I had to fill out the paperwork. Once I was accepted, they gave me a list of cars that meet the parameters and then dealerships that they work with. So I spent about 3 weeks shopping for the right car. Ever since I got the Ford Fusion, I started noticing more and more people drive the car. Great thing I like about an electric vehicle, a contrast from the Mustang, is you can't tell that the car is on. It's like, the engine is very, very quiet. So another good feature I like is the brake power. So as I hit on the brakes right here, it gives you energy back to your battery. Right now it says I gave 71% energy return to my car battery. And definitely with the carbon imprint and then having Chevron in the City of Richmond and growing up with that and seeing health effects from people that I grew up with, I definitely wanted to do my part for my kids' future. We found our EV. There's one for you too.
Find the electric vehicle that's right for you. Learn about incentives and how to qualify. Click here.
How long does it take to charge it? Where do I charge it? I drive 25, 30 miles in a day, and it takes an hour, hour and a half to charge it. And that's at night. After 9 o'clock, you plug it in your garage. It's great. And full tank, off you go the next day. So it's not an issue. Plus, there's a zillion charging stations all over the place. You go to PlugShare, and you can find them all over the place. My old Leaf, I sold it to neighbors. They just plug it into the wall. They don't even have a 220 or 240 volt charger. They just use the charger that came with the car. She pulls in at night, plugs it in, and the next day it's all full, and she goes and drives around all day, and it's never an issue. And she said to me, "This has changed my life completely."
My name is Julian Carroll, and I live here around the lake. And I've been living around here about 30 years. I used to run the lake 8 miles a day here. I've owned the electric car for 3 years now, and it's been very cost effective. I decided to purchase an electric vehicle because of the cost. You know, I'm a senior citizen, I'm retired, I'm on a fixed income. I'm driving 25 miles or less a day. I charge every other day, and I rarely use gas to drive it, but it has a backup gas generator. Because I live in an apartment, I charge at many different places around here. On the app, there's a map that gives you all the charging stations. There's charging stations all over this area. I don't have any charging station at home, so I come here where I shop. This is a Volta charging station. Volta is a company that uses brands to operate their charging stations so they can actually give it to the customer free of charge. I like driving electric because it's a clean fuel vehicle. It creates less pollution, and it also helps the environment in Oakland because some areas, you know, we have bad breathing problems because of air and pollution. This is a great opportunity for people to change that situation. I see more and more electric vehicles all over, all the way up to people my age, 60 to 70, are going electric. I found the EV I liked, and I'm convinced that EV is for everyone, EV everywhere.
Find the electric vehicle that's right for you. Learn about incentives and how to qualify. Click here.
Cool. Well, let's get started. Thanks for those, Annika. I think it's really cool to share those testimonials. So welcome, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and grab the screen here. So welcome, everybody, this evening. Thank you for joining us. So this is actually the last in our series that we've been doing this fall, our home sustainability webinar series. As you probably know and have guessed, you know, because of the pandemic, we've switched a lot of our public outreach to this online format, and we've had a lot of people come out to our different webinar topics. I'll get into that a little bit more, but just want to thank everybody for coming. Introduce myself. My name is Callum Damon. I work with the County Marin in the Community Development Agency. And the Community Development Agency has a sustainability team. Just a little bit about our team. So we work to support healthy, safe, and sustainable communities while preserving Marin's unique environmental heritage. You can learn more about our programs. We have a lot of energy efficiency programs, in particular, on our website right here. And here's more on the agenda. I covered that. So this is the last in our home sustainability webinar series. Right now, I'm making a page on our website that's going to have links to all the recordings and materials for all the topics, if you're interested in learning more about those. So we started with home energy audits, kind of like, you know, a place to get started if you're just looking into energy efficiency and sustainability for your home. Then we had energy efficiency and electrification projects, solar and battery storage, and we're wrapping up the series today with electric vehicles. And just a snapshot on Marin community emissions. So every couple of years, we do a greenhouse gas inventory, and we look at the different sectors from our community emissions. And as you can see here, transportation makes up a lot of that. As you probably know, especially if you live in Marin, a lot of folks, you know, get in their cars to go to work, a lot of, you know, single occupancy trips and that sort of thing. The second biggest piece of the pie is our built environment. So that's natural gas and electricity in our buildings. And then, you know, followed up by agriculture, waste, wastewater. The webinar topics really address our built environment and our transportation. And if you want to learn more about our climate action plan or our greenhouse gas inventory, the last one we did was in 2019. You can find that on our website and this link. And again, I'll be sending this stuff out and it'll all be hyperlinked. So you can just go there. So just to touch a little bit about Marin County and electric vehicles. So on Marin County properties, like the Civic Center, Los Gamos, the Kerner campus for HHS, we have about 68 charging stations on county properties. Those are open to the public. And we're also planning for more. And also we have a end-of-life replacement policy with our motor pool vehicles. So when building inspectors, environmental health and safety inspectors, anyone that works for the county that goes out for county business, uses a motor pool car, at the end of life for those cars, we're replacing them with EVs. And just so there are some energy efficiency programs that I want to touch on before we get into the main portion of the presentation. So it'll be on kind of the low level stuff you can do, like LED light bulbs and power strips. I'll talk about home energy audits, energy efficiency projects, electrification, demand response and pay for performance, and then some local resources. And I'm going to go through these fairly quickly. But if you have any questions, you can feel free to email me or put a question in the check box or the question box. So just some general messaging that we like to get out there when we do these presentations is a general loading order. So, looking at your home as a system and, including your transportation, your vehicle and that sort of thing, we encourage people to do the low hanging fruit first, the stuff that doesn't cost any money or costs a little bit of money first. So that would be like LED light bulbs, power strips, faucet aerators. There are some programs where you can actually get those for free in the mail, which I'll get into shortly. Then we want people to look at their building shell in their home. So that's stuff like insulation, air sealing. What you find is, by doing those jobs before you get into HVAC and some of the other stuff, you actually improve your home's air quality and comfort, when it's really hot in the summer, really cold in the winter. And you also save energy, and your HVAC doesn't have to work as hard and that sort of thing. And so after you look at that, mechanical upgrades, HVAC, water heating, rebates for heat pump water heaters are very big right now. So I encourage folks to look into that. And then, solar, windows, battery backup, electric vehicles. But of course, if you're in the market for an EV right now, don't let this stop you. We encourage you to look into that. So just a little bit about the programs, about those topics I covered. So Rising Sun Center for Opportunity Greenhouse Call program is really great. Because of the pandemic, so they used to go out to people's homes and do like a low level energy audit, and they would install LED light bulbs and faucet aerators, power strips. But right now that's shifted to a model where they send you a kit in the mail, and then you do a follow-up phone call just to make sure you were able to install everything correctly, see if you had any questions. This program actually hires local Marin College and high school age youth and gets them started in energy efficiency and sustainability fields. And they get a paycheck. It's like a good summer job. So that's another really cool aspect of that program. So home energy score, let's say you just moved into your home, or you're just getting started with energy efficiency. Basically how it works is it's a home energy audit program. And it works by having a professional come out to your house, and they do like an energy audit, and they give you a score between 1 and 10 that indicates how efficient your house is and what you could do to improve that score. There's a $200 rebate for that is offered by the Bay Area Regional Energy Network, which County Marin participates in. And that can cover a lot of the costs of getting a home energy score, like 50 to 75% of it. And it's just a really good way to get started. They also give you a custom recommendation sheet. So they'll tell you what projects to prioritize first, how much they'll cost, and that sort of thing. Here's just an example of a home energy score. It'll tell you what you're at, what you could do, how you could improve with some upgrades, your estimated annual energy savings. And then when you want to do some energy efficiency improvements, there is a rebate program for that. And that is through the Bay Area Regional Energy Network. That's what BayREN stands for. And their program is called Home Plus. So the rebates go up to $5,000, and it depends on the scope of work. So they have a certain rebate amount for changing your water heater out for a heat pump water heater, for an example. And you can get the list of the current rebates at this link right here. I will say through this program, it has to be done by a contractor that is involved in the program. It is free for contractors to join, but just to throw that caveat out there, and retroactive rebates don't apply. And I just like to share these slides because I've seen a lot of houses, and if you've ever taken a look into your attic or crawl space and these pictures look familiar, that's not a good sign that your home is performing efficiently and that you're basically wasting money on your utility bills every month. Another thing here too is I mentioned air quality. a couple slides ago. So this right here, the bottom slide is a good indicator that basically there's air intrusion into that duct. So when we're getting close to the winter, when people start firing up their central furnaces, it might smell a little funky. Most of the time, when people have central duct systems, it's going through their attic or crawl space. And everybody knows that the air in those areas are not always the best. There's often dust and waste from rodents and that sort of thing. So it's never good to mix that air. And sealing ducts is a great way to improve your air quality and also save energy. And this is just more examples. Completely uninsulated attic right here, and a poorly insulated crawl space right here. This home is probably baking in the summer and really cold in the winter. Electrify Marin. So for folks that are in Marin, there is an additional rebate program that can be stacked on top of the BayREN rebate program if you're changing from gas appliances to efficient electric appliances. So that could be like a gas furnace to a heat pump heater, a space heater, a gas tank water heater to heat pump water heater. And I did mention that those rebates are a lot right now. There's actually $2,000 from BayREN and an extra $1,000 from Electrify Marin. So it makes it a lot more affordable. And then induction cooking too is really an up and coming thing that folks are installing on their homes. And also hitting on that air quality messaging, it's really great to get combustion appliances out of the house so you're not breathing that stuff, especially with cooking. And also that, people may ask, like, why are we, pushing folks or offering rebates to go from gas to electric? It's kind of the same concept that Annika's get into with electric vehicles, right? So, our grid and our rooftops are adding more solar every day. And that means that we're being powered by more and more renewable electricity, every day, week, month, year. So what that means is we need to shift our energy to electricity so we can take advantage of that renewable energy. And the best way to do that in your house is to get off of natural gas, and the best way to do that in your car is to get off of petrol or diesel. Home energy advisors are great. They're a free resource. So if you're looking to do energy efficient improvements to your house, you can call them. They can walk you through, your project. They're not financially connected to anything you do. So they're basically just there to kind of walk you through the process, make sure you get rebates for your project. They can go over bids with you, and they're just there to kind of, be a hand-holding service the whole way. And just a little bit about demand response programs. So these are kind of cool. They're often, actually, they are free. Basically, demand response program works by you sign up and connect your utility information, and they'll send you notifications on your phone or an email saying like, hey, it's time to save energy. There's a lot of demand on the grid right now, or energy is really expensive right now, and they'll often send you devices to help you with that for free. So I participated in Ohm Connect. They sent me 2 smart power plugs. So when there's a ohm hour, where basically there's a lot of demand on the grid, I can program it into my phone to shut off whatever is plugged into the ohm plug. And then they do a good job of gamifying it. So, I get like points for that I can redeem for, gift cards or prizes or whatever. So that's really cool. And then Home Intel, I did this recently. Home Intel is run through PG&E, so it's available to everybody in PG&E territory. And Home Intel, they have an energy coach. So they'll take a look at your bill and do a complete analysis of it, your gas and electricity. And they'll basically just go through your electricity bill and your utility bill and try to find ways for you to save energy. They'll connect you to rebate programs. They'll suggest behavioral things you can do. One example of something they told me that I should try is lowering my water heater, because I rent, so I can't do a big upgrade or anything. But they told me that if I lower my water heater, because they said that my always on gas usage was a lot higher than similar customer types. So that's one thing I could look into. So that's kind of the detail that they could get into with that. I spent about an hour and a half on the phone with somebody, and we went through like every part of my bill, and it was really, really helpful and free, by the way. And lastly, just want to touch on some local programs. Resilient Neighborhoods is really great. It works by basically you form a team with your friends, family, neighbors. You learn about your carbon footprint and ways you can reduce it in a kind of 5-session series. And what's really cool about Resilient Neighborhoods is they have an added resiliency component. So you learn about CERT classes, emergency planning, making a block captain, what to do when emergencies happen, which is really great because all the programs that I just discussed don't get into that, right? So you learn about what to do when maybe there's a fire or flood, and that's really great. And also greenchange.net is a local resource. They're ran by folks in Marin. They do meetups, they have guest speakers, and people post project experiences on their website. So you can reach out to them and say, hey, I'm looking into adding solar, I'm looking into getting an EV. What can somebody tell me about their experience? So it's a really great way to learn firsthand from people that have gone through these types of projects and made these types of investments. So I think that's it for me. So yeah, I know I went through a lot, but again, we'll have a Q&A. And for now, I want to pass it off to Annika.
All right, so thank you all for joining today to learn how you can electrify your ride with an EV or an e-bike. My name is Annika Osborne, and I'm with Cool the Earth, an environmental nonprofit with a mission to reduce carbon emissions and air pollution. Walking, biking, taking public transportation, and carpooling, especially in electric vehicles, are great ways to reduce emissions. And with our Drive Clean Bay Area collaboration, we focus on educating and engaging people around zero emissions vehicles like e-bikes and electric cars. We're happy to be doing this series of webinars with the County of Marin Sustainability Team. Thank you, Kellen, for coordinating this program today and for inviting us to speak. If anybody on this webinar already drives electric, an EV or an e-bike, and would like to share for a minute or two about their experience, please let us know in the chat by writing e-bike or the model of your EV, and then we can introduce you at the right time. It'd be fun to hear from some folks in the community. As a nonprofit, we'd love to get a bit more, a bit of pre and post survey information. So we're going to run a quick Zoom poll. Kellen, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
So today we're going to cover benefits of driving electric, current and coming EVs and e-bikes, charging at home and on the road. And then at the end, you'll have an opportunity to ask any questions that you have related to EVs and e-bikes. So there are many benefits to driving electric. So from an environmental perspective, with an EV, we can reduce the impact on the earth by decreasing carbon emissions and air pollution. Our passenger vehicles are the single largest source of emissions in Marin County, as Kellen mentioned, representing up to 50% of our individual carbon footprint. So when you switch from a gas car to an EV and plug into clean energy, you can cut your carbon footprint significantly, which is an impactful action, and we want everyone in. From a personal perspective, when you make the switch, you can save time, money, and improve your driving experience with an EV. And you'll be part of the electrification movement, which is really taking off now. So the climate crisis and poor air quality are affecting everyone, but not equally. Due to systemic inequities, communities of concern are disproportionately impacted and experience the effects of climate change first and worst. And air pollution greatly impacts these communities as well, which are often located near freeways, major roads, and oil refineries. But the good news is that people are starting to notice, speak out, and take action, and we need to continue to get the word out about working for environmental justice through climate solutions. When we reduce emissions, it helps everyone. So for many people, deciding which car to buy comes down to finances. I know it always does for me. Many EVs have a lower total cost of ownership compared to gas cars. And some reasons for the low cost of driving electric are that during the last 5 to 10 years, EV battery prices have dropped dramatically. Government incentives are available for about $10,000 for most vehicles. And gas can be 4 or 5 times more expensive than electricity, especially this summer and now when gas prices are very expensive, something to consider. And for California residents, twice a year, Drive Clean Bay Area partners with Cartelligent, which is a car concierge service for EV discounts. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation. Incentives and rebates. So let's take a look at the incentives that are available for EVs. So you can save up to $10,250 with rebates and tax credits for a fully electric car, and about half of that amount for a plug-in hybrid. And if your income qualifies, you can save close to $14,000 on a new EV. While the incentives listed on this slide are for new cars only, some income qualifying grants are available for used cars. So there is the $750 utility-sponsored California Clean Fuels Reward, which is taken off the MSRP at the point of sale, which is nice and convenient. You don't have to apply for that or anything. The standard California rebate, or the CVRP, is available for $2,000 for an EV and $1,000 for some plug-in hybrids. They have to have at least 30 miles of electric range to qualify for that. There are income limits on this rebate, so $150,000 if you file singly and $300,000 for joint filers, and it applies only to vehicles with an MSRP under $60,000. But don't worry, there are plenty of EVs under that price range. The federal tax credit is claimed on tax liability when you file your taxes, so it does not take the form of an upfront rebate. This tax credit is currently not available for Teslas and Chevy Bolts. There are some proposals right now that Congress is busily discussing, and we hope that those limits on the Tesla and Chevys will be, or on GM will disappear in the new year. Fingers crossed. So this credit is for purchase only, but some dealers will take it off the lease price. So for instance, a friend of mine just leased the Volkswagen ID4 for just under $40,000, and the dealer took off that $7,500, right? They took the tax credit themselves and passed it along to the customer. So that made the lease price much more affordable for him. Then their home charging rebate is available for charging of all EVs and plug-in hybrids for up to $1,000 of the cost of the hardware and the install. And if your income qualifies, there is also the MCEV rebate for $3,500 for new EVs. And then there's the Clean Air Vehicle decal, which gives EV drivers access to the HOV lane as a single passenger for 3 years, which can greatly cut down on commute time. So it's only available for 3 years. So I have a friend down the street who's on his 4th EV. So he commutes from San Rafael to Emeryville. And so he's on his 4th EV and his 4th decal. And for him, it cuts his commute in half, so it really makes a big difference. And then there's this handy savings calculator where you can kind of put in your household income, how many people are in your household, to see exactly which rebates and incentives you qualify for. So EVs offer a really great driving experience. What I really like is the extra torque or power that you get when you drive an EV. So I can quickly accelerate when I'm getting on the freeway and easily maneuver between lanes. You just kind of like glide where you need to go. You just power up and go where you need to go. And that's really fun, and it feels safe for me. I enjoy the quiet, smooth drive, which makes for great conversations when you're on a road trip. And for me, the high safety ratings of most EVs, of all EVs really were a really big factor. They have some of the highest safety ratings of any cars out there. Hey, Kellen, if any questions come up on anything that I'm covering, if you think it's useful to discuss them now, please let me know. Okay, so I'm moving on to the next section here, talking about EVs and e-bikes. But before, let's take a look at the carbon footprint of EVs and the batteries which store the energy. So for everyone in the country, charging the average new EV produces far fewer global warming pollutants than driving the average new gas car. And yes, currently it does take a little more carbon to produce an EV with the battery, but even that is reducing because manufacturers are really streamlining their manufacturing processes. The orange part of this chart represents the cradle to grave carbon emissions for vehicle components, while the blue represents carbon emissions from combusting gasoline. So thank you to all of the Prius drivers who early on took environmental action by cutting your carbon emissions in half. And as you can see with an EV, you can reduce your emissions even more, and it feels great to not support big oil. Love driving past that gas station. All right, so batteries. So as we know, there is a huge environmental impact from fossil fuels, and EVs are not perfect. There are some issues, mainly with the batteries in terms of extracting rare minerals and the energy required to produce batteries. But it's very exciting because right now there's so much research being done around batteries, and batteries are quickly changing. I know some EV manufacturers are no longer using cobalt and some of these rare minerals. And solid state technology is developing quickly. We predict that they'll be in EVs by mid-decade. And the good news about EV batteries is that besides those early Nissan Leafs, batteries will last for many, many miles. Some are predicting 300,000 to 500,000, miles. So we're not really talking about like replacing batteries in EVs. We think the batteries that are installed in the EVs will last a really long time. And for cars, when the battery goes below, say, 80% of its capacity, the range is reduced, which is not catastrophic. You can still drive your EV, but just not as far on one charge. And then there's the second life of the EV batteries. So using them for stationary storage, which is something that our utilities are very interested in. So we produce a lot of solar energy in California, and we must in Marin County, because it seems like every day I drive down the street, more people are getting solar on the roofs. It's really awesome to watch this. But if we don't use the solar energy or store it while the sun is shining, once the sun goes down, it's gone. So there's a lot of research also being done now to transition EV batteries for stationary storage. And then after being used to store energy, 95% of the materials in an EV can be recycled, even the rare minerals like cobalt. So with over 50 plug-in electric vehicles available, there's an EV or e-bike for every lifestyle and budget, which is a great thing because we need everyone on board cutting their individual carbon footprint in half in order to have collective impact. So most fully electric EVs offer 200 to 300 miles of range, and some will go even farther on one charge. I don't know if any of you are following the news, but Lucid Air just is starting to deliver some of their cars this week. And they have like 500 miles of range, pretty in like the most efficient vehicles out there, which is really, really exciting. But anyway, even with just 200 to 300 miles of range on your car, that means you can go from Marin to Tahoe with maybe a 15-minute charging break, or from San Francisco to Sacramento and back without having to stop to charge at all. So here come the cars. So on the next several slides, I'll be showing many different vehicles, and the price listed is the base MSRP. And there are many additional incentives that may be applied. So the actual cost can actually be much less than these prices. So here are a couple of the lower range EVs that are available for just around $30,000. Not everybody needs a high range EV. These work out great for commuting or for a second car, or to go around town. Wouldn't recommend them for road trips. And I will note that the Nissan Leaf Plus model offers a higher range at around the same $30,000 price. I might take that Nissan Leaf on a road trip because it has a good amount of range, but the others are really great for commuting and around the town kind of driving. So here are a few of the most popular models that you've most likely seen around. The Hyundai Kona and the Kia Niro are great crossovers, and the Tesla Model 3 offers an all-wheel drive option with very fast charging. Incidentally, in 2021, the average price of a new car in the United States is $40,000. So these fall right in that range. So the next three cars came out in 2021, so they each get their own slide. The ID.4 is the first from Volkswagen, the Volkswagen ID brand, and there will be many more to come. There's a little preview there at the bottom. I think we'll have to wait until 2023 for the ID Buzz to come out, which is the Volkswagen bus replacement, all electric. Very excited about that one. And bonus, when you lease or buy this car, you'll receive free fast charging for 3 years at the Electrify America charging network. You have a friend who lives over in San Anselmo who has this car, and he drives up to Novato or to Mill Valley to charge his car like once a week. and at the Electrify America charging stations. And that's pretty much how he just fuels his car up. And he's super happy with that. He's really reduced his fueling costs this year. The Mach-E is a very popular car. I've met several owners who have this car. It's a little bit hard to get your hands on right now because it's so popular, but those people who have this car love it. I think it'll be a very, very popular car. And for you Volvo lovers, the Volvo XC40 is also a great SUV. You sit up nice and high, and it has a beautiful interior. Volvo is committed to all electric and all vegan leather seats by 2030. There's also a smaller version. It's called the C40 Recharge, which is available for order now, it's just a little bit smaller, not quite as boxy, maybe a little sportier looking. So these cars all offer all-wheel drive, the Audi e-tron, the Polestar 2, and which is a relative of Volvo, and the Tesla Model Y. These are beautiful, safe cars, and the Model Y has a third row of seats and actually fits 7 passengers, but I've heard 2 very small passengers in the very back, if you opt for that. But we'll continue on here. If you cannot find an all-electric car that works for you, there are many plug-in hybrids out there. If you plug in a PHEV or plug-in hybrid electric vehicle every night, you may be able to cover your commute driving all electric, and you can save the gas tank for road trips. The Honda Clarity, the Prius Prime, and the Kia Niro plug-in hybrid are really good choices for commuting. They have a decent amount of electric range. And if you're looking for a larger vehicle, the Chrysler Pacifica minivan, the Toyota RAV4 Prime, and the Kia Sorento are really good options. They also offer a solid amount of electric range, which is what we're looking for. So EVs have been around for just about 10 years. And because EV technology is so new, many people lease their EVs. So now there are many available on the market at good prices. So here are just a few of the many affordable used EVs available. Higher range EVs like Chevy Bolts and Teslas are also available on the used market. I just want to note that some of you have heard that there's a microchip shortage, which has caused low inventory for all cars, including EVs. And so that has kind of like, it's been very hard to get a hold of cars, and that has kind of trickled down to the used EV market. And so these prices might not be really accurate. So they might be, supply and demand, they might be asking a little bit more for their cars, but really a good option is to look for, a used EV, especially for like an around town second car or something in your family. I'm just going to talk a tiny bit about my own experience. So last year, my family went all electric. We have a Tesla Model 3 that we use for road trips, which is mostly volleyball tournaments. And we picked up a used Volkswagen e-Golf with a range of only 80 miles as our second car. My teenagers use that one to get to school and to practices. So while an 80-mile range vehicle might not be optimal for everyone, especially if it's your only car, for many people, it's enough for a second car. Keeps your kids close to home if that's how you would use it. But yeah, during the shelter in place, that's the one we were using all the time to run errands around town, and it's super fun and peppy. We can take it from San Rafael to the city and back, to Berkeley and back, and to Stinson Beach and back, with plenty of range left over when we get home. So it's been a really great investment for us. So now we have a couple of coming soon cars. So the Audi Q4 e-tron, we're excited to see this one coming out late this year or early next year. It has a significantly lower price than the current Audi e-tron and about $20,000 cheaper. And then there's the Nissan Ariya that's coming out early next year as well. It's Nissan's second fully electric car. Nice to vary it a little bit. So here are a few EVs that are around $45,000 expected to come out at the end of this year or early next year. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 is the first Hyundai built exclusively as an EV, and the Kia EV6 is in the same boat, just built exclusively as an EV. And both of these cars have super fast charging, which is really awesome. So that you can charge like 60 miles in 5 minutes and go from 10% to 80% of a charge on a fast charger in just 18 minutes. So we're not quite at a gas station model yet, but we're getting there. We're close, just enough to kind of like plug in when you're on a road trip, grab something to drink, and then come on back and you'll be ready to go. So these cars also have bidirectional charging, which might add some resiliency during power shutdowns. So I know they are taking pre-reservations. I was actually looking at this today. So they've already like filled all of their pre-reservations for the Hyundai Ioniq 5, but it's definitely worth connecting with them if you're interested in these cars. You know, they can send you updates and emails and that kind of thing. They haven't started taking the reservations for the EV6 yet, but they should any day now, as that car, it looks like, will be coming out early next year. So we don't have a picture of the BMW i3 here. It came out in 2014 and it's been a really big success. Now they're moving up to the BMW i4 and the iX. I believe the i4 is already full for reservations, but you know, they will usually start manufacturing another batch of cars as well. Recently, I guess it was about 2 weeks ago, I was at an event in the city called EV Week, kind of went along with Fleet Week. And I saw that BMW iX. It must be like the only one that exists in Northern California, because they wouldn't even let us like open the doors or anything. But really nice car. Finally, there's Rivian, which is the new all-electric EV manufacturer. The Rivian SUV and truck offer excellent utility with a high range. And as an environmental nonprofit, we like the fact that Rivian answers the high consumer demand for both SUVs and trucks. They've recently started delivering their trucks, so we should see these beautiful cars on the road soon. Very, very exciting to just have some more all-electric cars coming to the market. And this is a picture that I pulled off of the Rivian website a couple months ago. I'm a big fan of camping. And I saw this and I was like, what is going on here? And so I've kind of broken it down a little bit. So that black thing that you can pull out there behind the cab of the truck is an all-electric cooktop. So no need to bring your Coleman camping stove with you or, you know, cans of propane. You can just cook right off of the battery of your EV. And then I have a little bit of an imagination, but I think perhaps that is an electric cooler. So you can just plug that thing right into the EV, which has ports, charging ports. So you can just charge that thing up, you know, keep your things cool. You don't have to make a mess in your cooler or run to the store and get like more bags of ice. I don't know, this just looks very exciting to me. And I'm happy that one of the friends that I go camping with actually has ordered one of these cars. So I'm really happy to see how this looks next year, hopefully, when we camp. And just incidentally, driving is very energy intensive. And, you know, cooking a meal and cooling your food does not take that much electricity. So if you were to use, you know, to do these things with the, you know, using your EV battery, you would only use a little bit of your range, you know. Okay, so trucks are on the way. Over 1 million people have ordered the Tesla Cybertruck. And we're really excited about the Ford F-150 Lightning, which offers resiliency with bidirectional charging. Its battery weighs about 1,800 pounds, and that's just the battery. It's basically a battery on wheels. You know, you can take it with you, you can charge tools and charge things with you from that truck. But what's really exciting about this truck is that the regular F-150 is the most popular vehicle in the United States. So we think the Lightning model will be very, very popular, actually a game changer throughout the United States. So if you're not in the market for an EV, an e-bike might be just right for you. So instead of hopping in a gas car, you can try commuting or running errands with an e-bike. E-bikes are fast and fun, and there are so many different types of models to choose from. Incidentally, 600,000 e-bikes were sold in 2020 in the United States, which is a rate of about once every 52 seconds. There may be rebates available. If you go to our website, I think Kellen will send a link to our website in a follow-up email. If you go to our website, we have an e-bike page, and there's a link with a list of all the rebates that are available for e-bikes. So as you can see, there are many EVs and e-bikes available. And what I've shown you is a small sampling. Our website has links also to EV test drives and testimonials. And we also have a list of all the vehicles. We're actually in the process of updating it. We update them quarterly, all the vehicles out there and coming vehicles as well. So you can check them all out. We've come to the how to EV portion of the webinar. And we'll talk mostly about charging with clean and affordable energy here in this slide. So people get worried. People get worried about charging, but for many people, 90% of charging is done at home or at work. So charging at home, there are two options. The first is an easy, no-cost solution, and it's ample for most vehicles. For most people, actually, just plug in the charger that comes with your vehicle into a standard 120 volt outlet. It gives you about 25 to 40 miles of charge in 8 hours, which is usually overnight, which is just enough to replenish your battery. In the Bay Area, people drive an average of 23 miles a day. So this easy solution called Level 1 charging works out great for most people. This is what we did for the first year. We did get a grounded extension cord so we could have it, reach the outlet, and we just charged this way for a year, and that's how we charge our e-Golf as well. Super easy. You just plug it in. You don't have to get a charging station or anything like that. And it really works out great. Sometimes what we did was we would supplement it by going to a fast charging station, like if we were about to go on a road trip, or if we needed a little extra range, but just charging it overnight just really just replenished whatever we used during the day, and that worked out just great. But if you drive more than 50 miles a day, it's a good option to see if you can charge at work. And if not, you might want to purchase a home charging station for Level 2 charging. You'll get about 25 miles an hour, so you can easily go from like 10% battery or 0 battery to like full overnight, which is really a rare thing that you'll need to do. And the first step is to consult with an electrician to find out about your own electrical panel. We have an online resource on our website that will help you determine the right charging station for your needs. And then charging away from home, there are many Level 2 public chargers available. So you can charge when you're around town and running errands. At certain malls, they have these. So for me, when I go to the farmer's market on Sundays, I usually charge my car for like 40 minutes and pick up like 20 miles of range. It's very affordable there, by the way. Good, they have a good deal on charging over there at the Civic Center. But when you're on a road trip, you'll want a fast charge. So that's using a Level 3 charger, which is the fastest charging available. Different EVs charge at different speeds, so that's something to be aware of. Just going to note this because some people have asked me about this, like the Chevy Bolt, which is not for sale currently. It charges quite a bit slower than other EVs. So, I would caution, if you're going to use your EV for a lot of road trips, that maybe choose a different EV that you can charge a little, faster with. So yes, so on average, fast charging though will get you about 70% of battery charge in 30 minutes. So on the road charging is often like a 20 to 30 minute stop. So as you can see on this diagram, also there are 3 standards for fast charging. The CHAdeMO is on the left, and only Nissan Leafs use those. Some older Japanese models also use those, but in terms of new cars being sold, it's only the Nissan Leaf. The one in the center is the CCS standard, which most EVs use. And the one on the right is the Tesla standard. So if you do drive a Tesla, they give you an adapter so that you can use Level 2 chargers. That's what I do when I go to the farmer's market or when I do public charging on the Level 2 charger. And Elon Musk announced earlier this year that he's going to be opening up the Tesla charging stations for all EVs. So we're waiting for another announcement. He said he would be doing that by the end of this year. We're getting there. So hopefully we'll hear something from him soon. That will be game-changing for a lot of people. Just that Tesla really did a good job of building out their charging network early on. So if you're interested in level 2 charging at home and you already have a 240 volt outlet, a smart splitter can be useful. Smart splitters are 240 volt safety devices that can be used for your home EV charging and appliance setup. So for instance, if you already have a 240 volts, charger in your garage and you use that for your dryer, you could use this smart, install a smart splitter so that you can use it also to charge an EV. But you'll definitely want to consult an electrician because the amps might be different for your EV and your dryer, just to make sure it is truly a safety device. And then once you start driving electric, it's ideal to charge your EV from rooftop solar. There's a federal tax credit available this year, and in 2022, it's been extended for 26% of the install cost. We did this last year. We got solar about a year ago, and it's really a great feeling to charge your car from the electricity that you generate from your own roof. And for more resilience, you may want to consider a battery for storage. If you're not ready for solar, you can choose a clean energy plan from MCE, your alternative energy provider. So you're charging your EV with clean energy from the sun and the wind. MCE offers a light green energy plan with 60% renewables and a deep green plan with 100% renewables, which that deep green plan ends up costing about the same as a cup of coffee a month. And this is compared to the standard PG&E plan, which has about 30% renewables in their mix. So in addition, when you go electric, MCE offers a special reduced EV and a time of use rate so that you pay less for electricity during certain times of the day. Off-peak times for the EV plan are between midnight and 3 p.m., and the electricity is very affordable at that time. So I used to just always set my EV to start charging at midnight when we got like cheap electricity. But once we got solar, now I set it to start charging at 9 a.m., especially in the winter here. Maybe I'll change it to like 10 a.m. We haven't seen so much sun in the last few days. But, I just want to use as much energy as I'm generating, as possible. It's more economical that way. So I realize that if you live in a multi-unit building, it could be a little bit more challenging, but there are several EV charging solutions if you do live in a multi-unit building, and there are more solutions on the way. So if charging stations are not available at your apartment or condo complex, people charge by plugging into a standard 120 volt outlet if that's available. And if there's no charging where you live at all, you can advocate for a 120 volt outlet or 240 volt charging. There are some new smart outlets that are out there that can help you track electricity so that you can reimburse the property owner for the amount that you use. If you're interested in learning more about that, I can tell you more about that at the end. Other people charge at work, and yet other people just charge at fast charging stations, public fast chargers. Again, as I mentioned, on average, fast charging will get you about 70% battery charge in 30 minutes. So if you can find a fast charging station near your home or near, at a place where you do errands, at a mall or something, this could work out really great. And approximately 90% of Californians now live within 15 miles of an Electrify America ultra fast charger. Biden's infrastructure plan, fingers crossed, hopefully we're moving forward on this, includes 500,000 new fast charging stations in the US. So if there's not one near you now, one is on the way. And then EV Match is unique. It provides charging access with a peer-to-peer network. So you can download this free app if you have a level 2 charger at home and want to share your charger with other people. And if you're looking for charging, you can sign up for this app and you can reserve charging, and then you'll just pay for the electricity that you use. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about charging on the road. So taking a road trip is getting simpler all the time. Thousands of public charging sites provide fast charging, and using apps like PlugShare, it's easy to plan a trip and find chargers along the way. You can map out your trip on your computer before you head out on your trip, and then you can use the app when you're on the road. I like to plan my trips. So I always plan it out on their website because I want to know where am I going to get lunch and where am I going to, figure out, my road trip a little bit to make it more efficient and a little bit more enjoyable, I guess. So Electrify America, EVgo, and ChargePoint all offer app or card-based stations, making it easy to just tap your phone at these stations, charge, and then go. But with public charging, we recommend that you practice a few times locally before taking your road trip. You do have to sign up for these charging networks, and you want to like connect your credit card to these because you don't want to be doing that while you're on your road trip, you know, so just be prepared and practice before going on a road trip. So when taking a road trip, many hotels offer something called destination charging, which is level 2 charging, which they often offer for free. So you can just charge overnight while you're staying there. When I stay in an Airbnb or a Vrbo, I just connect with the property manager in advance and ask them if I can charge while I'm staying in their home. So I'll just pack my the charging cable that comes with my car and an extension cord and just plug in when I get there. I think I've done this like 5 times, and each time the owner has been like, sure, no problem. I'll set up an extension cord for you. So good to know that you can also charge while you're, you know, on a road trip. When you've arrived at your destination, I should say. So some people are worried about having an EV because of power shutdowns, but EVs can actually help you during a power shutdown. And we do know that gas stations also close when there's a power shutdown because they require electricity to pump gas into your car. But you can plug this inexpensive 300-watt inverter into the accessory port of your car and power up small appliances like cell phones, laptops, and LED lights. 2 years ago, I think we're just coming up on the anniversary. It was like the 26th of October when we lost energy here in my neighborhood. We lost electricity for 5 days. And while, we're big campers, so we loved the candles for the first couple of days, but then, it started getting a little old. So we just decided to test out this inverter that we'd picked up. So we plugged in an extension cord and brought it into our home. And then we hooked up some string lights. So we had a little bit of comfort in our living room, which was really nice. And I've also used this like in an emergency situation when I had a power outage and my laptop was not charged. So I just hopped in my car and just plugged it in there and just worked off of my battery. So the technology around inverters is advancing quickly. There are several companies working on vehicle to home energy management systems, as well as vehicle to grid management systems, which will really help our utilities. But in terms of vehicle to home, just imagine when you come home, at the end of your day, you probably still have some battery, some range left in your battery. So when you come home, at the end of the day, electricity is expensive and it's not very clean. So you can power up your home with the energy stored in your EV battery, and then power up your EV battery at midnight when there's ample, clean, inexpensive electricity available from the grid. So this is a whole different way of thinking about, how to manage energy in your home. And it's going to be big. I think in the next 2-3 years, we're going to see some great advancements here. I just want to talk a little bit more about Drive Clean Bay Area. So we do offer these, weekly Zoom webinars, EV 101s for EV basics like this one today, similar to this one today. And also we do an EV 102 to help new drivers transition smoothly. They both have Q&A and, we're happy to answer any questions that you have. We also have a robust website that highlights, available and coming EVs. We have a how-to EV section that has steps to driving electric and a buying and driving guide and checklists for buying electric. We host in-person EV car shows, so consumers can check out new and some of the most popular EVs out there and talk to EV owners about driving electric. That's what we found from surveys, that people really like to talk to EV owners to hear what their experience has been like. We actually had 2 EV car shows this past summer, one in June and one in September. We had over 1,000 attendees, and we have a really great network of volunteers here in Marin County. We had about 25 volunteers who brought their EVs to these events and shared information with the guests. So that was really great. And then we look forward to having more in the spring when we can guarantee that we don't have, no guarantees anymore, but when we can hope, the chances are we'll have better weather that's more conducive for a live car show. In addition, twice a year, we offer an EV discount campaign for California residents with our partner Cartelligent to give consumers great pricing on EVs. We recently had one for the month of October where we offered discounts on the Volkswagen ID4, the Audi e-tron, and the BMW X5. Last year, we ran a campaign at the end of the year. We were able to help close to 100 individuals switch to driving electric, and discounts were typically between $750 and $2,500. So, hopefully you'll want to keep, in touch with us, and you'll have an option to opt in to receive newsletters with information about EV discounts and EV events, around Marin County. One more slide, and then we'll have Q&A. So you came here today to learn how to switch to an electric vehicle so that you can reduce carbon emissions. It's great that you took the time to learn about driving electric. We thank you. And can we ask for your help so we can all remember our blue skies and clean air last year when people stopped driving? And if you can make the switch to driving electric now, we're here to help. The sooner, the better. And if you're not ready now, can we have your support by pledging to make your next car electric? Our biggest ask really is please don't buy a new gas car because it will be on this earth emitting carbon and air pollution for the next 12 to 15 years, and we need to stop that. We have one final short Zoom survey, and we ask, this is where you have an opportunity to pledge to make your next car electric. As a nonprofit, this is how we get grants from different organizations by measuring our impact. Kellen, do you want to run that?
Yeah, I'll launch that right now.
Awesome. And then we'll have a little Q&A session at the end. I'll take a look at the Q&A that's going on right now. I'll just answer that one live. Yeah, so there's still a lot of research being done with hydrogen fuel cars. We don't actually advocate hydrogen fuel cars because in order to create the hydrogen to be used to fuel up those cars, it takes a lot of carbon. So it doesn't actually fulfill our mission, which is to reduce carbon emissions. So there's no, I know they're trying to work on green hydrogen, but blue hydrogen is not clean. But I do know that there's a lot of research being done, maybe to use this for like trucks, that sort of thing. But yeah, I know, yeah, we just don't advocate hydrogen fuel cars at this time. Solar panels, if I have some solar panels, but they cover about 70% of my electric, is it better for me to use electric appliances during the day when sun is out or early in the morning? Well, if you have an EV and the electricity rates are cheap until 3 p.m. So that's most of the day when the sun is shining. So yeah, so that's what I do because I'm on this EV plan. So all of my electricity is very inexpensive during that from midnight to 3 p.m. So I set my dishwasher to go at midnight or sometimes in the day. Since it only covers 75% of your electric, you might want to do a little balance of both. Do some of your electric stuff at night when we know that it's inexpensive, and some during the day as well. Kind of try to calculate that.
Oh, sorry, Annika. Yeah, so one thing that's, I don't know if it's happening now, but it's going to be a thing, is time of use rates. So because, we've been talking about how there's so much more solar on, it used to be more expensive to run things in the middle of the day. That's kind of shifted because there's so much solar on the grid now, where it's shifted down a couple hours, where it's really the big demand on the grid is when people are getting home from work and they're turning stuff on. So that being said, and what the utilities are doing to address that is switching to time of use rates. So the idea there is to encourage people to charge their EV at night or early in the morning, or basically whenever it's cheaper, right? So, but to answer your question, that's something that you can call your utility about, whether it's MCE or PG&E, and ask about what rates you're on and what they recommend for when to run your big appliances to save the most money.
Yeah, since we have two EVs, like I try to kind of time it a little bit so like that I'm not like doing everything at like 9 a.m. I try to like spread it out a little bit throughout the day so that, you know, I don't know if that probably has a little bit of an impact, but I hear you, Margie. All right, does anybody have any other questions?
Oh, Erica raised his hand. Eric, I'm going to allow you to talk.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess my biggest concern with electric vehicles is the true cost of recycling batteries and precious minerals, and how dirty really are the sources of electricity used to charge electric vehicles. I realize that depends on areas, but how are you approaching this whole perspective?
Right. So we follow the Union of Concerned Scientists, which has been doing a long-term study on like the cleanliness of charging your cars in different states. You know, so I'll actually try to find the link where you can see exactly like what car you have. Like you can put in different cars and you can see, you know, it'll give you like an MPG equivalent of like, so like with my car, if I charge it in my, you know, here in Marin County, it's like the equivalent of like getting like 160 miles per gallon. So I can try to put that link in there for you. So I hear you, but even in like, according to the Union of Concerned Scientists, even in states like Ohio and Pennsylvania and West Virginia, like in every place in this country at this point, it's cleaner to drive electric than to drive a gas car. In terms of those rare minerals, yeah, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, it's, you know, that is one of the challenges for sure. It's not just with EVs, you know, all of our electronics, right? So our cell phones and our laptops, they all have lithium ion batteries and have cobalt. At this point, electric vehicles represent only 10% of the cobalt extraction. I mean, two things there. So that might increase as EVs become more popular, but as battery companies are figuring out different chemical components and different minerals, that might not actually even have an impact. So I actually have a friend who works in like the recycling business of rare minerals. So he said that they are actually extracting, you know, they're recycling, they get these lithium ion batteries, they pull the cobalt out, they're refining the cobalt and then reusing it. So he's like, you can get, like literally I was talking to, he's like, you get a cake of cobalt, you know, of purified cobalt, and you can reuse that. So, you know, clearly everybody who's in this business, you know, of EVs wants to do this for the environment. So there's a lot of research going on to find cleaner sources of materials. That's really the goal, like clean, efficient batteries.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, you know, I did take one engineering class in college and we learned about motors, and an electric motor is, you know, can be like 90% efficient where internal combustion is maybe 40, 50. And that's the same for a furnace. Like if you look at your furnace, it'll have an AFUE rating, which is a really good one, is like 95. So that means it's 95% efficient. Basically, and another comparison would be a light bulb. So an incandescent light bulb gives off a lot of heat. That's why they're so inefficient, because you're basically, you know, what you wanted to do is light the house, but it's, you know, actually like heating. It's giving off a lot of heat, and that's why they're so inefficient. LED light bulbs don't give off any heat. So anything where you're giving off heat as part of your, you know, mechanics is lost efficiency. And electric motors in general can be like 90%. So, you know, I feel like that's something that doesn't get brought up a lot when talking about electric vehicles.
Yeah, the efficiency, they're very efficient. And when you think about it, like gas cars have like over 2,000 moving parts, and EVs have like fewer than 20 moving parts. And yeah, they're just, yeah, built very efficiently. Just
but Eric, I do hear you. I mean, we everything we do makes an impact. It's just, yeah.
And it's not like I want to say that, we definitely realize that this is an issue, but there's a lot of research going on. It's still better to drive electric, but there are really big issues with fossil fuels, and we really need to stop burning fossil fuels. And when we think about like the climate crisis that we're in right now, this is like an urgent issue. We have to like draw down carbon right now. And I don't want to say like we're just going to like deal with that later. I think we're working right now. I know Tesla right now is working on they have a recycling facility, and a lot of these, especially the all electric companies are the ones that are going to be investing a lot in that. Some of the bigger car manufacturers, EVs are such a small portion of their business, but I'm hoping that, some of these companies like Tesla and Rivian will really lead the way. And that also, Europe has very high standards for the environment. And hopefully they will also be joining us to lead the way in this kind of new research and technology.
Okay, thank you.
Here's a question from Noel. How soon and how big will jumps in battery technology be, for example, solid state?
Yeah, so I actually went to we celebrated National Drive Electric Week a couple of weeks ago. And I went to a webinar and learned about, it was by QuantumScape, which is one of the main manufacturers. I think Microsoft has invested in them. And they were saying like they're testing them out. They'll be testing them out in the next year or two, and they will be actually in electric vehicles by mid-decade. So that's interesting. But what I would say to that also is that is, 4 years away, 3-4 years away. So if you need to get a new car right now, I wouldn't hold off. Maybe hold on to your old car if you can, or get a used car, but please don't buy another new gas car. That's really we just really need to avoid that. And it's thing, I know that, I know a lot of people are like, I'm waiting for that perfect EV. When that perfect EV that matches my lifestyle comes out, I'm gonna, get that, but I'm waiting until that. And so we just hope that, you can consider getting an EV. Maybe it might not be the perfect car right now, but in 3 years, if you lease it, if you have the means to do this, in 3 years, that perfect car might be there for you.
Great. Well, I don't see any other questions. So thanks everybody. Have a great night. And yeah, hopefully we'll see everybody soon out about on the road and EVs in the neighborhoods.
Yes. And
great.
Don't forget to check out drivecleanbayarea.org. Put it in here. We have lots of resources out there. I know Callan will add it to the follow-up email. All right. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.